Thank you, Megan. In our last class, we looked at the transfiguration scene.
Yes, we did.
Now, today we're going to look at what happens when they're coming down the mountain. So let's read Matthew chapter 17, verses 9 to 13, and let's see what happens.
Okay. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Tell no one about the vision until after the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." And the disciples asked him, "Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" He replied, "Elijah is indeed coming and will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come." And they did not recognize him, but they did to him whatever they pleased. So also the Son of Man is about to suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood what he was speaking to them about, John the Baptist. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. So the first question that comes to mind is, why did Jesus tell them or charge them not to tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead?
Because it's probably just gonna is just gonna dampen his plans on completing his missions and preaching whatever it is that he needed to preach.
Something quite similar to
Passion.
Something quite similar to what Jesus told Peter to tell no one that I am earlier prior to this when he confessed that you are the Son of the living God. Yeah, and then that was meant to be preached only after the resurrection, and you see Peter doing it on the day of Pentecost, his first ever sermon. Right, yeah, what you say also makes sense, that not to dampen the plans and not to make things worse. So Jerome says not only to the people but not even to the other apostles as well, because you see only Peter, James and John were there on top. So the way Jerome puts it, that is so that they might not give them an occasion of sorrow or envy, because they were not present with Peter and James and John at the Transfiguration. So that's how Jerome puts it. Another saint by the name Saint Damascene says, "Lest the madness of envy should drive the traitor to fury."
Okay.
Mark, who's narrating the gospel, narrating this part, says that they kept the matter close to themselves. If you read Mark chapter, I've already told you in our last class that the parallel to this is Mark 9 verses 2 to 13. There Mark says that they kept the matter close to themselves. This whole thing about the vision and all. The reason why Christ enjoined upon them this silence is because there would be a fitting time come for the revelation of this mystery.
All right.
And because the apostles would understand and believe it when after his passion and death, in which they would be scandalized and troubled, they were about to behold him rising again in glory, of which this transfiguration was a type. For by Christ's resurrection they were about to understand of a surety that Christ underwent the death of the cross for us, not because he was compelled but voluntarily, out of his exceeding love. And now, being endowed with glory, he will come to judgment at the end of the world and crown with the same glory those who, after his example of his precepts, have denied themselves, have borne the cross, and in following him have lost their lives for the sake of his love. So this is something how we look at it from the from our moral sense, how we can apply this in our life, and what we all have to go through. But remember, the glory is waiting for each one of us. And this transfiguration was just a foretaste of Jesus' resurrection, glory after the resurrection, plus a foretaste of what each of us will experience after we pass on to the next world. And the disciples asked him. A question. What is the question? Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? And he says in reply, "Elijah will indeed come and restore all things, but I tell you, Elijah has already come." So, what is this Elijah? They ask him, why do the scribes say Elijah must come first? So, what were they expecting? What was the mindset of the Jews in those times with regards to Elijah?
They were just, I don't know, were they just waiting for another prophet to come and accept things right? Or to tell them, they wanted to know what the second coming was about, right? Or I'm not sure.
No, remember where did Elijah come first when we began studying the Gospels? It was referred to whom?
To John the Baptist.
Exactly. So, and there it was spoken about Elijah coming. Malachi already prophesied that Elijah will come. And so when the disciples asked this question, because these three apostles had seen Elijah in the Transfiguration, firstly. And now in the back of the mind, they're thinking about this prophecy of Malachi. That Elijah will come as a forerunner before Christ to prepare the way. So now they marvel that he did not remain. Elijah did not remain over there.
Mm-hmm.
He went away,
Yeah.
right after the transfiguration scene, and he did not remain and became the forerunner of Christ and his glorious kingdom, according to the what Malachi prophesied in chapter 4 verses 5.
Yeah.
So you see that this was something that was quoted by the scribes, and it was enforced that Elijah will come. And now when they see Elijah coming and going and nothing happening, they are wondering what's this, and they ask this question to Jesus: Why do the scribes say Elijah must come first? But the thing is that they were in error. They erred over there because they did not fully understand that what John the Baptist's role was. They fully did not, because Jesus said John the Baptist is the Elijah who's come in the spirit of Elijah, who's come in the fire of Elijah. It was promised that John the Baptist will come in the spirit of Elijah to prepare the way for the Lord. He said he will come and he will restore all things. That's what is put over there.
Yeah.
Elijah will come and restore all things. That means he would convert the Jews to Christ as the Messiah promised to themselves and their forefathers. That's why Malachi said he will turn the hearts of the forefathers, heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers.
Yeah.
That was the prophecy of Malachi. And the word restore which means to turn or to convert.
Yeah.
That is what is being implied over here. Or the Arabic translation would put it as shall teach you all things.
Okay.
But now Christ responds back to their question saying, but I say to you, that means Christ says that he's now going from the literal to the mystical one, that is John the Baptist over here. And he's saying that what he says here.
But I tell you that.
Yeah, go ahead and
But I
read.
tell you that Elijah has already come,
Yes.
and they did not recognize him, but they did to him whatever they pleased.
Exactly.
So also the Son of Man is about to suffer at their hands.
Exactly. So they did not recognize that Elijah has already come,
Yeah.
and that is John the Baptist who has come in the spirit of Elijah.
Yeah.
And when we spoke a lot about the similarity between John the Baptist and Elijah, so many a times. Jesus praised John the Baptist so many a times, the way John the Baptist's way of living, his style of living in the desert, was almost similar to the way how Elijah was.
Yeah.
So here he's trying to show that John the Baptist, whom the angel had foretold to his father Zechariah, and Saint Luke says in his gospel, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, and to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. That is you'll find it in Luke 1 verses 17. So this is John the Baptist who's already come in the spirit of Elijah, and people fail to recognize him, that he is the one who has already prepared the way of the Lord. And even John the Baptist has many times has said that I am not the one, but I am the one who is preparing. I'm the one who is preparing you to come for the Messiah. I baptize you with water, but the one who is going to come after me is going to baptize you with the fire and the Holy Spirit. And then Christ here says that they knew him not. That's the actual word, literal word used. They knew him not. So the word knew him not, that means that they failed to recognize him as the precursor of Christ. That he is the one. Elijah has come. And even until today, the Jews still wait for Elijah to come. Even until today. And it's a very sad thing, that they
fail to recognize.
Yeah, they fail to recognize that it was John the Baptist who was preparing him for the coming of the Messiah. And it says that they did unto him whatever they listed, or whatever they wished to.
Yeah.
And if we know what happened, that when he reproved their vices, they hated and they persecuted him, and they delivered him up to Herod, who sought his life. We know that John the Baptist was finally, he laid down his life, for who he was. And it's almost similar to what Elijah was facing when in his time he was reproving the people who followed the other gods.
Yeah.
And scripture continues to say towards the end, what does it say in Matthew verses
13.
Yeah, read it.
When the disciples understood that he was speaking to them about John the Baptist.
They understood that he was speaking.
They
Yes.
understood.
Now at this point they get understanding that this Elijah was none other than John the Baptist, who was the forerunner of Christ. So what can we take away from? Is there anything that we can take away from here besides historical information? What do you take away?
That it's extremely easy to just ignore the signs. Sometimes we don't recognize them, or we don't we always ask for signs and miracles, but when they do happen to us, we fail to recognize who is behind those. So I feel like this is a good takeaway from all of this that we talked about today.
God does a lot for us,
Yeah.
but we fail to overlook even the little
Yeah.
things, the good things that God does in our life, and we take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah,
You know?
that we do. Yeah.
Little, and we complain and say, and we ask God why, and God says that look at the people around you. Sometimes they, how many times that we fail to see that. Sometimes we ask God, why do you know why prayers are not answered?
Yeah.
It's probably that God has answered it in a very much different way, but we fail to see it.
Yeah.
Maybe what we ask for is not good for us at this very present time,
Yeah.
and or maybe it's not needed for us at this present time, or he has something better in store for you,
Mhm.
and we overlook it. I mean, what you're saying is exactly
Yeah.
right. I mean that's a beautiful takeaway for us, that looking at the things that God has done and looking at the signs in your life, what God is showing you, the confirmation that God sends by you, and do we see it? And lest we come to a point and one day we ask God, why didn't it? Then God will say, remember this, remember that. And this is how God works in life, in mysterious ways, but we have to be open to what He has to offer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I mean, that's all that we have to share about this part of it. It's going to be a short one, but it's something for the imagine for those people in those times who were reading the gospel. For them, Elijah was such a big thing, a big, huge figure, and they were looked for his coming. And here is Jesus making it very clear to his people over there, and to the Jews who would probably read the script over there, that this is Elijah. Stop looking for Elijah. He's not going to come.
Yeah.
This is the Elijah whom I'm sending you. And rather looking, John the Baptist, look at me, because I am the Messiah whom you've been waiting for. And it's some. I mean, still wonder how the Jews today still wait for the Messiah. They're still waiting. They're still at the Wailing Wall, praying and hoping the Messiah will come. And it's a sad scene. We can only pray for them. And
Yeah.
thanks, Megan.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank you all for joining. God bless you. Have a nice day.
Bye.